Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, 1976's Jess Franco's Jack the Ripper. This is Jack the Ripper by Jess Franco from 1976, and this is part of the Jess Franco Golden Goya Blu-ray collection by Ascot Elite. I have done a lot of reviews from these pricey Blu-rays, but amazingly worth it Blu-rays if you're Jess Franco fans. You can get these on diabolicdvd.com. It's really the only place I found them. And they're also available on DVDs as well, but this is Jack the Ripper on Blu-ray. And a host of other reviews from Ascot Elite's collection. You never know when it's going to go out of print. So if you want them, get them now. And the transfers are unbelievable, mostly from the negatives. And this Golden Goya collection... These are all films that were produced by Erwin C. Dietrich, Jess Franco's time with the producer Erwin C. Dietrich. And this involves Lena Romay and Klaus Kinski, as well as many other awesome actors and actresses. This is Jess Franco's Jack the Ripper with the 18 right there. Kind of the foreign rating system. Let's get into this film right here. I made some notes. This is Jack the Ripper. Now you're probably familiar, maybe if you're a horror fan, you're familiar with the Jack the Ripper, kind of facts and and mythology, but also kind of the facts of if you're into real crime and things like that. And there have been adaptations of Jack the Ripper, I believe, cinematically and probably through television and documentaries and things like that, and it's had its place here and there. But this is Jess Franco's version of Jack the Ripper, and I really have never, sought after Jack the Ripper storylines or movies or television or even real life crime, really. It wasn't something that I was ever totally into. But since Jess Franco is my favorite director, of course, I'm going to be checking this bad boy out and seeing what he does. Now, I'm never typically into period pieces, and while this is a film that takes place some time ago with period dress and kind of the atmosphere, it didn't matter. I still love this film immensely. So if you are not into period pieces, it doesn't matter. You still love this film if you're a Jess Franco fan, and if you're a fan of transgressive cinema and cinema that kind of goes across the boundaries, you're going to be a fan of this. So let's get into this film. I made some notes. There's a lot of different aspects to Jack the Ripper that I want to talk about, and this is a film that definitely needs to be talked about more, and I believe that people who aren't even Jess Franco fans would love this film, and it might be a great step into becoming a Jess Franco fan. This could be a first step. This is a film that I believe would appeal to a lot of different horror fans and exploitation fans and fans of just, violent, sexy, weird cinema. So let's get into it. This film is predominantly nighttime photography, cinematography, and it just looks unbelievable in this Blu-ray release. But this is a film that predominantly takes place at night. Cold, dreary, dark, nighttime, but beautifully lit. When you realize the budgets that Jess Franco was dealing with, and you watch this period piece type of film, you're going to be amazed at the cinematography and the lighting. Typically, Jess Franco films take place, you see a lot of daytime photography on beaches, and it's warm and it's hot, and people are in bikinis or barely dressed. In this particular case, we have a totally different type of environment. The opening credits are kind of like dripping in blood, and it's after like the film kind of starts dramatically, and then all of a sudden the credits happen. Very powerful, very dramatic, almost reminds me of like the way Quentin Tarantino or maybe Robert Rodriguez does their thing nowadays, where a film starts and then the credits happen a little bit afterwards. It was very powerful, very dramatic, and the blood dripping on the credits, you know that you're in for something here. Klaus Kinski's in this film, and Klaus Kinski had a great relationship with Jess Franco in a variety of his films, and a lot of his films actually. And Jess Franco has actually said he never had a problem with him, whereas other directors said they did have a problem with him. There's a lot of close-ups of Klaus Kinski in this film, and man, are they dramatic and powerful and focused and weird. And Klaus Kinski's face itself, it was as if Jess Franco knew how to film his face, how to get his face in this film and bring atmosphere from his face, his natural face. There are kaleidoscope, dream, nightmare shots in here. There's a shot in here that really looks like a kaleidoscope, but beyond that, it looks like a surreal hallucinatory nightmare, and there are some wild things happening with the camera in this particular scene. This is a movie that has a lot of side-scrolling shots. It almost reminded me of Kubrick at times. It almost reminded me very, very still and dollied. And this is a film that, this is what's so interesting, is a Jess Franco film. It's restrained and professional looking and beautiful looking. And that's why it would appeal to people, at least, you know, stylistically. It's very restrained stylistically. It has a very professional gleam and gloss to it, and the camera's very slow and scrolling and kind of beautiful and magnificent in the way it's moving. And this is a film that has carnival music and kind of period gothic music. And the music is really only at the beginning of the film, only in the first little section of the film. And that's what is so intriguing. So music kind of starts off the film, and then all of a sudden, there's no music anymore. And you're left with space. And anybody that knows films knows that the right music is just as effective as no music. You look at a film like Texas Chainsaw Massacre by Tobe Hooper, the original, and there's no melody in that film. There's just kind of a cacophony of sounds and sound design. And similarly, this is a film that uses no sound as sound design, or should I say no music. That means no score, no music as sound design, except for some live music throughout it at a local club. What is so interesting about this film is, as you have the restrained, beautiful kind of sections of this film, you also have disgusting gore, violence, disturbing, sleazy, stabbing, sexual rape, dismemberment, shooting blood. Now, did you get all that? For a Jess Franco film, Jess Franco was never really known for gore. He was never, I mean, you know, he would have a little bit of like really bright red blood, you know, and he wasn't really concerned about consistency with violence or gore or things like that. This film is freaking gory, and it's disgusting. There was one scene that I was not prepared for whatsoever, involving something on somebody's skin and a doctor. And I got to tell you, I was completely repulsed. I was like, I dug my nails into my fingers. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was not prepared for it, especially for a Franco film. People who are Jess Franco fans know what you're prepared for. And then you know kind of maybe you know that the sky's the limit. You know, things are going to get wild and crazy. But you always kind of know there's not going to be really kind of shocking, disgusting gore in one of his films, and it might not look like totally real. Well, there's some crazy crap in this movie, okay? In terms of nudity, we have full nudity on the female spectrum. We have ass dancing at a burlesque show, probably some of the best ass dancing I've seen at a burlesque show, but the ass is covered kind of in lingerie. We have implied sex, implied blowjob. We also have rape in this film, and like I said before, mixing that with the violence and the gore and the disgusting elements of the violence in the film, you really have a concoction that is quite potent and quite powerful and quite sleazy, disturbing, and dark. There's black humor in this film as well, folks, which is not something that's uncommon for Franco films, because there's always, you know, some people, you really got to have the right eyes and realize that Jess Franco is darkly, blackly humorous in his humor. Would not be too popular nowadays. We have a blind man in this film with a strong sense of smell. Isn't that peculiar? Isn't that interesting? What an interesting story, plot point, or character for this particular film. We have a realistic prostitution conversation that I was just really super interested in. And we have characters and building of the story and a healthy dose, a ton of wit. Great dialogue, great characterizations, great kind of character dialogue and things that are happening We have Scottish accents in this film, by the way, folks. Very interesting. That's something I don't know if I've ever seen in a Jess Franco film, to be honest. Scottish accents. So I want you to picture this here. We have a foggy city, period streets at night, period piece streets at night, fog, an apartment building, a whorehouse. It's a true period piece. Elegance and atmosphere. A foggy forest. A foggy forest. A rainy night in a canoe as the rain pours and drips into the body of water, into the lake around the canoe. I want you to take those atmospheres, that fog, that elegance, that music at the beginning of the film, and mix it with the bloody credits at the beginning of the film. There is such a paradox in this film that makes it so freaking awesome. You have that mix of elegance, and so you're never prepared for the disgusting, gory violence. And you have that element of elegance, and so you're never prepared for the sleaze. And Lena Remay provides a healthy dose of that sleaze in this film. And she's younger in this film, 76. And, the acting is awesome. Everybody's just great. I didn't see Franco in this film acting. And of course, Klaus Kinski. Wow, unbelievable. This is 1976's Jess Franco's Jack the Ripper right here. Wow, wow, wow. I would say if you're not a Jess Franco fan, this would be one that would still possibly appeal to you, but you're going to get sucker punched by some Jess Franco madness throughout. And if you are a Jess Franco fan, you're going to see stuff in this film that you haven't seen in other Jess Franco films like this. So this is wild stuff. 1976. Freaking awesome. Love it. This is Jack the Ripper. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like this one. Please feel free to check out all my other reviews in this YouTube page, including tons of Jess Franco reviews, exploitation, sexploitation, erotica, adult, horror, weird, bizarre, underground, anything I think needs to be talked about more. And feel free to check out my own personal homemade films at youtube.com/poopydiarrhea. Thank you and good night.